Yeah, thank you, Mr. President, for having us here. And not to sound like a broken record, but it needs to be said that Antifa is real. To be clear, political violence, sustained political violence that we're seeing in this country is not a both sides issue.
I can't believe Julio Rosas was allowed in the White House. Can't believe how good he did. Joining me now, my buddy Julio Rosas, national correspondent with the Blaze, United States Marine. Julio, you've come a long way from standing on some yellow footprints getting screamed at, my friend, to hanging with the big man.
It was quite it was quite a surprise. I was literally coming back from Portland when I was invited, and of course I accepted because this issue is something that I've been aware of and have seen firsthand for a long time, right? And a lot of people just really want to not believe that this movement exists, and of course it does, right? And so when you have the opportunity to present your findings and present your experiences to not just the president, but also people who are watching in the press pool, you're going to say yes to that one.
Julio, walk me through what the point of it was. Was this just bringing in experts, like people like you who've been knee deep with these street animals for years? What are they coming up with a plan? What did you get out of this?
Well, so there was a couple of reasons. One, it was just to lay out the facts of what all these different people have experienced about this group, right? And when the president is there participating, there's a reason for that, right? And people are gonna tune in a little bit more than if it's just some other member of his cabinet. I mean, this is the president. This guy's a busy guy. And so that was just the first thing. It was just to say that, yes, Antifa is real. It exists, and we're looking at it. That's what the administration was trying to say. And it was because, the press pool is there. It's to kind of force the mainstream media to at least acknowledge that this is a thing, right? Now, of course, I would say that the mainstream coverage was to be expected, but it at least puts in people's mind that this is an ongoing issue. They're using the anti-ICE, fever outrage to fuel themselves to try to achieve their goals. But it was also to reassure not just us, people who have experienced them in some cases violently, but also to the voters that, yes, the administration is maintaining its pledge to go after not just the individual people that they happen to get at these riots, but also its support networks, which are very active right now. They've been active for a number of years.
Julio, can you talk about the level of support you think these people are getting? It's obvious to anyone who pays attention, this is not organic stuff. So there's some level of sophistication to it, certainly some level of funding and organization, but you have actually had to smell these people, which has to be brutal. What do you get from their level of sophistication?
Well, that's why I wear a gas mask, not just for the tear gas. But they do get support. I mean, I saw it in Chaz back in Seattle back in 2020. Most recently outside the facility, the ICE facility in Broadview, Illinois, which is outside Chicago, someone dropped off a whole bunch of large and small Mexican flags. I mean, that costs money. So the support are in big and small ways. In Portland, outside the ICE facility there, they have a couple of tents with all these different supplies that are dropped off. And then the kind of the more, I would say, nefarious and more expensive items are the bail funds. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest ones, ways that they get support is just, because obviously they're not going to be in jail for very long, or they're going to rarely receive any actual prison sentence. So if they do happen to get arrested, they can be back out relatively quickly because they have all these bail funds that they can access, and some of them are international. And that's why when President Trump was asking, well, are these guys a foreign terrorist organization? Have we designated that? We said no. And it probably should, because Antifa is just not unique to the United States, but they're very active in Europe, like Germany, France, and the UK. So that was kind of another thing that kind of came out of that, is like, because Secretary Rubio walked in to give him the news about Hamas and the historic peace deal. But also mixed into that, President Trump, went to Rubio and said, hey, we should probably take a look at that as well, since that would fall under kind of his domain. So I would say that, it was a very productive meeting, right? And again, it just, when you're on the ground, and stuff, you kind of forget that what you put out there is seen by, a lot of people. And so it was just kind of validating to know that, uh, it was just validating to see that the hard work that gets put into this, because there's a lot that goes into these things, in terms of time, energy, resources, and personal safety. It is worth it because there are people who are in a position to do something about it beyond just recording it, are taking note of it and want to follow through on action.
Yeah, that's got to feel good to see the fruits of your labor. Okay, so two things for this question. One, we heard Kash Patel talk about tracking down George Soros's connections and things like that to that. How many layers do you think there are between the billionaires who stroke the checks and the street animals who are pooping on themselves out in front of the ICE facility? And two, how many Mexican flags did you take?
I did take one as a memento. Full disclosure, it was offered to me, and I said, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna add. I take things from, I take rubber bullets and tear gas canisters and everything just as a memento. So yes, I did take one. But I always carry the American flag. That's always in my backpack when I'm at these things. But so the more serious thing, I would say that there's a few layers. It's not super complicated, right? Because when you have things like, Soros's network, or any other of these like left wing billionaires, they give them to these nonprofits, right? And the nonprofits then kind of disperse it to the networks, because, or to the activists that are on the street, because it's local, right? I mean, they're very good at organizing at the local level. And so I wouldn't say, I mean, it's not that complicated once you start kind of peeling back those layers, and to say that, it's not probably 50 degrees removed. It's probably only about two or three, if you're looking at it through that. But also, I would say that, unfortunately, these people genuinely believe what they're espousing, about promoting this anarcho-communism ideology that's kind of wrapped in with Antifa. It's not anti-fascist in the sense of like World War II, World War II veterans. I mean, they would call those guys fascists for the beliefs that they held. So it's just nonsensical on its face. But because of how President Trump is actually carrying out his promises to try to carry out mass deportations, that alone gets people out of the streets. And that's what I told the president. I said, this issue isn't necessarily about just Antifa. We've seen seemingly ordinary people ramming ICE vehicles, ramming Border Patrol, attacking Border Patrol and ICE while they're out there. It's not people dressed up in black bloc. It's like just these people who have been extremely radicalized within this past year, because the mainstream media is so responsible with their reporting about all this. So that's kind of the bigger problem, because you don't need to be part of Antifa to just throw yourself in there into the mix to try to, save these people from being kidnapped. And that's why I think it's going to be we're going to be in it for a while, because things might calm down a little bit in the country once it starts getting colder, for this fall and winter. But I guarantee it's just going to be just like fighting season in Iraq and Afghanistan. It's going to start right back up again, once the conditions are conducive to them to be out there for hours on end. So, this is going to be an issue for quite some time.
Julio, I know you've already seen it, and shoot, you might have been there, but this was Brandon Johnson in Chicago.
Our very democracy as we know it is under attack. And if there were ever a time for working people to unite around this country, this is that time. Look, I've started off as a public school teacher, organizing in communities to ensure that we protect the very fundamental rights of the access to education and housing and healthcare and transportation, good paying jobs. These are all of the things that we fought for after the Civil War. And now this president is literally attacking the sanctity of what this democracy is about, securing opportunities for every single person who wishes to call the city of Chicago or this country their home. That's what's under attack right now. But I'm grateful that there are organizers around the city of Chicago and throughout the country, as I have conversations with mayors, that are very clear and determined that we're going to defend this democracy, protect our humanity, and put an end to this tyrant.
Julio, my concern, it's not just for Chicago or Portland or anywhere else, is as the Trump administration goes into these places, they're not Washington, D.C., where the government controls it. It is hostile territory, and even the cops don't seem to be on our side.
Absolutely. It's insurrection, plain and simple, like an actual real
Yeah.
insurrection. It's a low level right now, but I mean, the fact that the Chicago police were ordered to not respond to a crowd forming on Border Patrol and ICE agents because of a agent involved shooting, defensive shooting, I should note. Um, that's a problem. I mean, at a minimum, they're supposed to be there for crowd control. And by the time that they were finally there, it was too late. The situation had gotten so out of control that Border Patrol had to use tear gas to clear everybody out because they were done with the investigation, the initial combing through of the scene. So this is being perpetuated by the Democratic Party. And they're saying it, they're openly saying it right now that if they get back into power in 2028, they're going to go after ICE, they're going to go after Border Patrol for the crime of enforcing immigration law that's been law for a number of years, right? This isn't anything new. This is not putting people in concentration camps. This is not ethnic cleansing or any of this other nonsense. The border was open for 4 years. None of this would have happened. We would not be in this position now if the Biden-Harris administration purposefully opened the border and allowed millions of people from all over the world to come in. The American people said, no, we're not going to put up with that. We're going to go with President Trump this time around again because this needs to be fixed. So all of this is the Democrats' fault, and it's just a way to shift blame and just try to consolidate power, as they always do, right? And they're using their street activists, their street radicals to try to achieve that, and they try to say, well, no, oh, look at this, repression that we're facing now from the federal government. It's like, yeah, because you're the ones encouraging it. This is your fault.
Julio, stay safe out there, my brother. Happy for you. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.